Well, welcome back to part 2 of the Pavilion build series. And so I'm going to have 8 posts for this pavilion on the outside, 2 in the middle that really don't bear much load. And so I wanted a little more than just the slab for those to sit on. I think you would be okay with just pouring a 4 or 5 inch slab and building your pavilion on top. But I wanted, where these posts were going, I wanted to have some concrete footer basically to support the concrete, but also the weight of the pavilion. You can see me whenever I use the post hole digger. You don't want to just let it bury itself. You want to go slow, and you want to, when you feel that auger take off like it's trying to bury itself, you want to pull up so that it doesn't get stuck, because you cannot reverse these augers. So you want to make sure they don't just go down 3 or 4 feet and just kind of bury your tractor. And if you've ever used one, you understand what I'm saying. So I dug 8 of these holes, and I'm going to fill them full of concrete.
So when I made this pad, it was kind of high on the lake side. This kind of went down quite a bit, especially on this end. So I was about a foot low here, and I didn't want to just pour concrete, a foot thick all the way around here, because I don't think that's the best. That could actually sink and could cause your concrete to crack up here. But I also wanted some footers, and you can get those cardboard pouring cylinders at your big box stores. But I ended up finding these buckets. They're just sour cream buckets that Buffalo Dip. I'll put a link. He's a local guy. He makes some cheese dip, and he has these, and he sells them for $1. He has them left over. He sells them for $1. So I thought it'd be a lot cheaper. But what I wanted to do was I want to pour this slab 4.5 inches thick or so. And so that's about where that is now. And so putting these buckets in these holes allowed me to fill the gravel up, about that thick up against this bucket. So I don't have all of this. If I didn't have the bucket, it would be hard to build this up without the gravel falling in the hole. So that's why I use these forms.
And you can see I actually filled those buckets up on the first pour that you saw with the fire pit. But you can see my screed board, which is 20-foot board, and I just have it resting on the form so that I could measure to make sure that I have about 4.5 inches. If you have low spots, you can just add a little bit of gravel, make sure that you can get a closer measurement on the amount of concrete you need. There's my boys. They're using the fiberglass rebar, laying it out, tying it into the existing rebar that we had sticking out of the first pour that we did. And here they're using zip ties to tie the rebar together. That is the easiest method that I've found. Just zip tie it together. And there's the grid of rebar that we're going to use. And now we're ready to pour the concrete. We had a beautiful morning. It would have been hot that last summer, but the day that this concrete truck showed up, it was a nice 65-degree morning or something. So there's the concrete truck coming in. He's just going to back right up there. This makes it really easy. You can see that I just putting this concrete right against the previous concrete, and you saw the rebar that was sticking out of the first pour. So that's going to tie these 2 slabs together so that they can't separate or have heaving or something, so you're never going to get a hump there between the 2. Now, a lot of people will put an expansion joint there whenever they pour against an existing pour. But I've done a lot of research on this, and there is no need to do expansion joints. I even have 200-foot sidewalks. There's absolutely no need to do expansion joints. The expansion joint would be if your concrete is going to expand in the future. And the fact is that this concrete is going to be the largest that it's ever going to be right now before it sets up. It's actually going to shrink as it cures. So there's no need to prepare for it to get larger. I know that's a highly debated thing, but I think it's actually leaving some of the codes because people found that out. There's that 20-foot screed board. So it's an 18-foot span, this slab is. And so, you know, the professionals, what they would do is they would probably get like a 12-foot screed board, and they would use a laser or they would use pins. Most people use lasers now, and they would actually uh, make flat spots out in the middle of this slab with their laser, and then they would use that as a reference point to screed two halves. I'm sure if you've watched videos, you've seen people do that. Well, I'm not a professional. I don't have a laser. I didn't really want to fool with the pins, you know. So I just made a 20-foot screed board. I showed that to you in the last video, but you really didn't see it in use. And I actually added a little bit of OSB in the middle just to give it strength so that it would not flex, so that it would stay level. And so we just get the concrete close, and then you just go back and forth and pull that screed board with you, and there's the finished product before you do any floating. So it's just trying to get it level. There we are in action. We had plenty of people here. You really about three or four people is all you would need to do this. This is a 10-yard pour. Now, you know, the most critical thing is to make sure you get your concrete the right consistency. If you have a good concrete truck driver, they'll help you with that. But what I did with this concrete is I added some retarder, and that keeps it from setting up very fast. So it gives you plenty of time. You don't have to stress about it. And then I also had them add some water reducer, and that allows you to pour this at a more smooth, a thinner consistency. I don't know what the right term is, without weakening the concrete. The more water you add to your concrete, the weaker it will be. But here I added that water reducer, and these byproducts or additives are pretty cheap. So I think it's something good to add so that you don't have to worry about adding too much water and making your concrete too weak. You saw me several times pull up during this video, pull that rebar up. You want to make sure that someone continues to pull that rebar up a little bit. There I was pulling it up. When the concrete, you need some concrete under it, so as you pour the concrete in, you can pull that rebar up a little bit, and then it'll sit on that concrete. And you want it to be on the lower 1/3 or in the middle. You don't want it just to lay on the bottom. You don't want to pull it up too far to where it's up close to the surface either. And of course, I've told you about how I love that fiberglass rebar. You saw my two boys laying it out. They, you know, they didn't even break a sweat laying it out because it's so light. So, you know, this whole process of pouring this 10-yard slab from the time the concrete truck showed up until the time we walked away from it was about 3 hours. So that's not very bad for a family, you know, wife and kids that are not concrete experts. And, you know, the actual part you're watching here, we're just getting the concrete in the form, which is, you know, most of the grunt work. This took about 1 hour. So 10 yards took us about an hour, and that's not too bad either. Now you want to make sure that you get a bull float on this earlier before this sets up. I almost let this go too long before I got on it with a bull float. You'll see me, I took off and went and got the bull float. What the bull float does is it pushes the rocks down deeper into the concrete, the gravel, or the stone, so that whenever you're doing your finish work, you know, those gravel are not right at the surface. And it also helps take out some imperfections that you might have had while you were screeding the concrete. Normally you do it perpendicular to the way you screeded, so that's what I'm doing here. And I just went ahead and bought one of these. You can rent these bull floats. I went ahead and bought one because I had several concrete projects that I've worked on over the years, and man, they are pretty easy to use, and they make this look pretty good. You know, I've told you before, if I was going to do a finished, you know, like a garage where you're doing a real smooth finish, I would probably just hire someone to do that. I don't think I'm a good enough concrete worker, but if I'm putting a broom finish on something, my family and I can do this, and I bet you can do it with your family too. You can learn to do concrete projects, small concrete projects, because you bull float it and put a broom finish on it, and am telling you it's good enough, you know. So I put my daughter here on the left, Liberty, in charge of making sure that the the old concrete and the new concrete, that there was no like obvious defects there. I wanted that to be a smooth transition. So I told her, I said, hey, get some extra concrete if you need, fill in any low spots, make sure that that transition is good. So you'll see her in a little bit working on that, making sure that's good. So here we are, just getting the last bit of concrete out of this truck. And you know, you just get it close with your concrete rake, forget what that tool's called, and then you just do the screeding. So there was three of us, two, my wife and my son on one end, and then I was pulling from the middle with the screed board. Then we had two other kids just trying to feed us concrete and trying to keep it to where it wasn't you know, too much concrete that you're trying to pull with the screed board. You know, the professionals, you'll see, they are really good at that. They can almost read each other's minds of where they got low spots. Here's my daughter there, making sure she had a little bit of concrete there, making sure that she's making that look really well. And I really bragged on her. She did a great job, because when we got done, it looked really good. And here I'm going to show you the bull floating at real time. This is, you can go this slow if you want. You do not need to rush yourself with this. It's just a big trial, right? Just a big float. So you just you twist the handle with mine. You twist the handle and it'll pull the front edge up. You want the front edge to be up just a hair so that you're not digging in. And then on your way back, it's the opposite. You want the back edge to be up just a little bit. Pretty common sense, but hopefully you can see that and understand what's going on. And then I run this over both directions just to get rid of any imperfections. Make sure I brought some of the cream up, so I'll speed this up for you. If you have any questions about this whole process and you want someone that's not a professional to give you an honest answer, please leave a comment. I am active on this channel and I will answer every question that comes in. And now I'm going to make one last pass with the bull float in the opposite direction. And my goal here is just to make sure that you bring up this cream, or to just get the cream ready for the broom finish. So you would want to hand float it. It's hard to get out on this with your hand. So if you just do a quick little bull float right before you do the broom finish, it will bring enough cream up to make that work out just fine. I told you last video, you want to wait and not do the broom finish too early. The finish, you want to be able to press your finger in just barely, put quite a bit of pressure to press your finger into the concrete. If you do it too soon, you will mess up, and you know, it won't make it too bad, but it's going to make a rough finish and it'll pull a lot of cream off the surface. You don't want to do that. Now you see my son there. He's going around the edge, and this is something good to remember. His whole purpose is he's just cleaning off concrete off the top of the forms, because when we go back around here and we do the edging, you just don't want any of that concrete in the way when you're doing the edging or when you're doing the broom finish. My daughter there, she's putting a penny in, something we started doing for years. So we did this in 2024, so she put a 2024 penny into the concrete. Now here we are putting the broom finish on. So my wife just sets it down on the edge, and then I slowly pull the broom, and I'm actually trying to lift up on the handle slightly to where you're not putting a whole lot of pressure on this. Then I hand it back to my wife, she sets it back down, and I do this again. Henry's there, my son, he's kind of the in-between person, And I don't know, I'll show you here, but I clean this off about every time on a bucket. I'll show you that here in a minute. So this goes fairly fast. This is if you wait and do this when the concrete is at the right set point, not too early, not too late. This is a really easy job. We did it once where we got the broom on it too early, and that was a little bit of a disaster. I mean, it doesn't ruin your concrete, but it doesn't make the finish as good as possible. You saw me there wipe the broom on a bucket. You can't really see the bucket yet. You'll see here in a minute. But I just put some water in a bucket so that it don't tip over. And then I just run the broom across the top of the bucket and just try to knock off any of the cream that you're pulling. And you can see, I mean, you can get bigger brooms than this. This is the broom I bought, and I think it's like maybe 2 foot. So it takes, takes several passes to get this done, and you just overlap the previous pass by like an inch. Hopefully you can see the quality of the finish. It turned out really well, and just show you a different angle here with the phone recording. This is when you are super excited because the day has went well. The stress of a concrete truck showing up with 10 yards of concrete is real. I don't know that ever goes away. It just means that you have work to do and a set amount of time to do it. So I understand why people would be afraid of that. I would not recommend starting out with 10 yards of concrete. If you have a small project, I would like to get you to try that, especially if you're having a hard time finding a concrete person to do it for you, which is how I ended up doing this. I was having a hard time finding someone to pour concrete for me. My professional retired, and it was kind of during the COVID years. And so, and here you see me cleaning that cream off with that bucket. And so the COVID years, I couldn't find a contractor, so it forced me to do it on my own. My daughter's always happy to be back at her coffee. And there's the finished product. We did go around and do the edges, and I don't guess I showed that on the video. And there's 2 of my kids went off to college classes, so we finished it with just the 4 of us. And I used a chalk line to divide this in half, so it's going to be 9 foot on each side. And then I split I think I split it the other way to where it was like 8 or 10 foot squares, so 9 by 10 foot squares or so. And it's easier with these concrete saws if you go forward. Sometimes I forget this. Not the cutting of it, but if you go backwards and you pull the concrete saw, it covers up your chalk line. And so you can't tell where your line is. So that's why I'm going forward. It's so that I don't cover up the chalk line with dust and I can see where I need to cut. You want to do this the same night or the next day would be best, because you do not want to wait too long, or this concrete is at risk of cracking somewhere that you don't want it to crack. So the whole purpose of these cut lines is so that when the concrete cures, which I told you it shrinks when it cures, that it's going to crack where you have weakened it. And so this is a 4.5 to 5 inch slab, so I think this is about a 3/4 inch deep saw cut. And it's kind of nice to have a little bit of a windy time to do this if you can, because you can get all this dust to blow away from you. You do not want to be breathing in this dust. So if you have to, get a mask on. And then I like to wet the concrete. You want to keep your concrete wet for at least a week. It takes 28 days to fully cure. The longer you can keep it wet, the better. Keep the forms on too will help it to retain the moisture some more. So there you go. It turned out really well. Captain, my dog, really likes it. He thinks it's a nice pad. My daughter's going to play a little music, and then we'll start the pavilion on the next video. Thanks a lot.